Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Guru Kripa Koile Krishna Adamira Prati Kilagi Anilihita Kuru Begati. अच्छे की चूक जाता अच्छे की बने अहिंसेनो स्थाने उग्रस्थाने बुरो कृपा कोइले कृष्ण अदमेरा प्रति मेरा प्रति किलागिया निलेहेता कोरोवे बेगति किलागिया निलेहेता कोरोवे बेगति शृण्वता स्वकता कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृद्यन्तस्तो हि अभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सता नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्ति भवति नैष्टकी तदा रजस्तमो कामादयश्च ये चिन्तयेतनाविधिं सितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्नमनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगता भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञान मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते विद्यते सर्वसंशया क्षीयन्ते च कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे बुरो कृपा कोइले कृष्णा अदमेरा प्रति लागिया नीलेता कुरो बेगति लागिया नीलेता कुरो बेगति मृजस्तामो हते तामे पाई बेस्ता रजस हृदयेरा भद्रसते गुचिवेदाः हृदयेरा गुरु कृपा कुले कृष्ण पद मेरा प्रति गुरु कृपा लागिया नीलेता गुरुवे बेगति बेगति की कोरी बुझा करता बारों से चाहे कि शूद्र बीतीना कोनो शक्ति नाही कले कृष्ण मेरा प्रति लागिया नीले हेत कोरोई बेगति लागिया नीले हेत अत जाई चोप्रा जे तुम्हारा प्रभु गुरु बारे जे जो तो गुरु कृपा कुले कृष्ण पद मेरा प्रति कृपा पद मेरा प्रति किला नीले तम गुरु बेगति अखिल जगत गुरु अजर से अखिल अलंकृता क्षमता तुम्हारा अलंकृता गुरु कृपा कुले कृष्ण मेरा प्रति गुरु कृपा लागिया नीले गुरु बेगति गिला तब कृपा हले शोधा दुनिया सबरा सुख दुख जे कुछिबे गुरु कृपा क्लेशा वेद मेरा प्रति गुरु लगे गुरु अनिया जगते प्राचते नचा नचा प्रभु नचा से जाना प्रभु नचा से हस्ते राधा तले जाता नचा से माते कसे रात गुरु कृपा गुरु कृपा कुलेश भक्ति वेदांत शांत गुरु भक्ति में बेसाता गुरु शांत Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Guru Deva Kali Krishna Pada Mera Prati Guru Deva Kali Krishna बेगती जय निताय सच्चिदानंद निताय सच्चिदानंद निताय सच्चिदानंद गौर हरि जय निताय निताय सच्चिदानंद निताय सच्चिदानंद जय निताय सच्चिदानंद निताय सच्चिदानंद निताय सच्चिदानंद गौर हरि जय सच्चिदानंद निताय सच्चिदानंद निताय सच्चिदानंद हरि जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय श्रील प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद श्रील जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव मार्कने भगवत धर्म की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, गुरुदेव की जय। His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ki jai।
कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। It's up only now. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Okay. You have to disconnect the audio here. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. Sorry for the delay in starting today. So, yesterday we started by discussing about the broad sense of what's happening. Why is it little volume you can decrease? We discussed the broad principles of surrender, and we discussed the. Can I hide this? Okay, you want to share this? Sorry. So yesterday discussed the broad principles of surrender, and we used the medical metaphor to discuss that. So today we'll discuss the 2 points of acceptance and setting boundaries. So if you look at these two, that's strange. Oh. Okay. So acceptance and setting boundary and boundaries, avoidance. So let's look at these from a broad perspective. When you think about accepting and, as you say, avoiding, rejecting, distancing, you think of these two things, what comes to your mind? and think about, okay, what to accept, what to reject. And you hear these principles in daily life and in the practice of bhakti. Any thoughts come to your mind? Okay, accept the favorable. Yes. So now that raises the question, how do we determine what is favorable and what is unfavorable? Yes, yes. Yes, so we could look at the pleasure of the spiritual master and or Krishna, and based on that we decided. Yes, thank you. Can you give me examples of something unfavorable that we avoid, something favorable that we accept? Yes, true. Yeah. Getting anger. So anger we could consider unfavorable. When we get angry, we act in ways that we regret later. We do things which hurt others. So we like to avoid that. So anger would fall in to the category that is unfavorable. Any example of something favorable? Okay, association of devotees. That definitely helps us in growing. So now, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur elaborates on these on these limbs of bhakti, he talks about the 6 activities which are mentioned in the Deshamrut. Things which are favorable and things which are unfavorable. Utsaha nishchaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat. Now that enthusiasm, patience, determination, those activities are mentioned. Now, most of you have probably heard of the nectar of instruction, and you have probably heard those are broad principles which most of us have talked about or heard about. So I won't specifically focus on those, but I'll draw on some principles from there to draw on some of those elements to look at a broader level of principles. Now, if we look at our existence, we are constantly making a decision, this favorable, unfavorable. This is a dynamic that applies at multiple levels for us. If we consider at the level of the body, we may decide, yeah, this is favorable, this is too cold, this is too hot. When we take a bath, we want to take a bath with cold water, but if the water is too cold, say, I want to mix it a little with warm water. If we're eating some food, it is too spicy, too pungent. Okay, I need to do something which is the food. I can't take it like this. It's too bitter, too sour. So at the level of the body, we choose what is favorable, unfavorable. Similarly, at the level of the mind, we choose what is favorable, unfavorable. This is enjoyable. This is boring. This is troublesome. We could go at various levels. If you could look at the level of wealth, this is unaffordable. This is affordable. This is desirable. This is not desirable. So we are constantly choosing, and this choosing is something which is just unavoidable, because if we consider, say, we are finite beings and there is a huge world out there. At every moment we have to make decisions, and every decision means we're choosing. So choosing, say we decide to do a particular degree in a particular field. So we're choosing, okay, I'm doing this degree, that means I'm not doing this degree. If I'm entering into joining this company, that means I'm not joining that company. If I'm entering into this relationship, that means I'm stopping the pursuit of other relationships. So in every area of life, we're constantly choosing the favorable and unfavorable. That is just the fact of life. Now, here we look at what basis are we using for choosing what is favorable or unfavorable. Now, anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. This is something which everybody does at various times. Yesterday, I mentioned about Hanuman's story. And we'll look at that story shortly. But the point is, and Hanuman was deciding to go towards Lanka. He was leaping across the ocean. And that time he decided when he met different obstacles. So now Hanuman met 4 different obstacles. So if we consider this is India, the Indian subcontinent, the peninsula, this is Lanka. Hanuman met 4 obstacles along the way. Anyone remember the 4 obstacles? Yes. The first was like a mountain that rose from within the ocean, suddenly rose upward. That's Mainak. And second was, second was this demoness, you could say, or whatever. She looked like a demon. This was Surasa. And third was, yes, she had some kind of horns or whatever. She looked like a demoness. And then what happened? Last was Lankini. So she was the guardian of Lanka. Now, if you consider, while Hanuman was going, what did he do? All 4 he encountered, and he had to deal with them in the appropriate way. When I use the word encounter, in India, the word encounter has a different meaning. Isn't it? Encounter is where the police sometimes, through extrajudicial means, kill some criminals because the judicial process will take too long. So, encounter can mean an interaction. Encounter can also mean termination. But it depends on context. So, at least for Simika, the first encounter led to the second encounter. Okay. So now if you see here, when he was dealing with all of them, he didn't simply rush into fighting with everyone. When the Mainak Parvat came, what did he do? Just touch it down, touch the Mainak Parvat, and then moved on. So what happened here was, he sensed that these 2 people were actually not hostile. And these 2 were hostile. So when he saw that, he sensed. Hanuman is also a very intelligent person. Buddhimatam varishtham. Extremely intelligent. So obstacles can come in various ways. But not every obstacle, the solution is fight. Now when we're dealing with problems, there is being forceful and there is being resourceful. So being forceful is simply fight. Then if I'm stronger than the other side, then I'll win. But resourceful means we have an array of strategies. If fighting is required, fighting can also be done. But that is not the first or the primary way of dealing with things. So with respect to Mainak, Hanuman just touched and went on. With respect to Surasa, he, in one sense, out-tricked her. Now she said, anyone who has to pass has to enter into my mouth. So he expanded his size, and she expanded her mouth size, and he expanded his size, and she expanded her mouth size. And now she got caught in that. How big can you make the mouth? Hanuman was intelligent. So as the size was becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, Hanuman saw that that's big enough now, just suddenly shrunk his side, entered into her mouth and came out. So sometimes the literal word can be honored, but the actual meaning, that doesn't have to be honored. So the idea is Hanuman, he honored the letter of that particular vow that he had, the power she had. So he avoided a confrontation. So even so, and then of course with Simhika, he had to confront her because she just wanted to devour him. The first two characters, they wanted to test him, they wanted to help him. Lankini, he just knocked him out. He knocked her out of the way. So when we are talking about accepting and avoiding on the journey of life, we can say that when we any direction we go, especially say when we are going towards, say if Krishna is here at the end of the journey. We'll talk later how Krishna is not just at the end of the journey, but it's here. So basically, when we are on this journey of life, we will face obstacles. And sometimes we may even face reversals. That's one thing that may happen to us. That means I'm going to go in a particular way and something opposes me, something blocks me, something stops me. And the other could be, now I use these two words, oppose, block, stop. They're different things. Oppose means this doesn't let me go, like pushes me in the opposite direction. Block means, okay, this is something which I have to really effort to push. Stop means it doesn't let me go ahead. So there can be different things that can come up. And then conversely, there can be things which act as aids. Now, things which help us, we need to use them. We need to go along that. So, accepting the favorable, avoiding the unfavorable. I'll talk about 4 broad principles for determining what is favorable and what is unfavorable. So, students go to grad school. So, we'll try to go to the Bhakti grad school. And we look at 4 principles to understand how to determine what is favorable and what is unfavorable. Now, here, we are trying to determine what is favorable and unfavorable from a devotional perspective. We are doing this constantly. Say, if we have diabetes and we want to avoid getting complications, what is favorable? Okay, taking this medicine is favorable. Avoiding that sweet foods is unfavorable, like that. So the first step is guidance. For determining what is favorable, what is unfavorable, it is important that we have insight from someone beyond ourselves. Some people say, I don't need any guru. I am my own guru. Now what happens? He who is his own guru has a fool as a disciple. If you become your own guru, what happens for us if this is the soul? Now next to the soul is the mind. And while the mind is not always our enemy, but the mind can very frequently be our enemy. And if we just start consulting only ourselves, it ends up that we will keep listening to our mind. So guidance is what we need. And the Bhagavad Gita also begins with this point. Arjuna turns to Krishna and seeks guidance. Parikshit Maharaj is not an ignorant person. He still, when he's facing the final exam of death, he turns to Shukadeva Goswami. Or he goes to sages, and among them, Shukadeva Goswami is the most learned, so he turns towards him. His guidance is required. Now, however, after guidance is there is reflection on the side of the person. We see in the Bhagavad Gita 2.7, Arjuna surrenders by saying, Puchami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. But throughout the Gita, Arjuna is asking questions. Hey, this doesn't make sense. You said this and you said that. How do the two fit together? And then at the end of the Gita, Krishna himself tells Arjuna that you should deliberate. Vimrishaitadasheshena yathechasi tatha kuru. Now you deliberate and do as you desire. That's a reflection. Now without this reflection, if there's only guidance and no reflection, that means there is a very strict hierarchy. For example, this is the authority and this is the subordinate. It's a very rigid hierarchy. The authority is at the top. I tell you, you just have to obey me. No questions asked. So when this attitude is used, now hierarchies are important. I'll talk about that. But if there is no reflection, so you were talking about guidance without reflection. So this generally attracts two kinds of people. Now Prabhupada, he gave so much philosophy. Prabhupada helped us develop our intelligence. If there's guidance without reflection, then it attracts two kinds of people. The first is that people who want to control. That means they think, yeah, here this person is so powerful. And right now I'll obey, but then in future, I will get to the top. And then I'll get to control. People who want to control. And such people cannot be good spiritual guides. In fact, they just power hungry. And the other is people who don't want to think. Thinking is hard work. Thinking is complicated business. So you just tell me what to do, I'll do it. So that's why guidance without reflection. The purpose of the Guru, right in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says, one who has a proper spiritual master knows everything. Knows everything means that the person becomes independently thoughtful. When there's guidance plus personal reflection, then what happens is the person becomes independently thoughtful. That person can think and analyze for themselves what is favorable, what is unfavorable. If the guidance does not encourage reflection, then it leads to an unhealthy dependence. That means without you, I can't make any decision at all. And now, what we don't want is that the point is not that the guidance is to be rejected or to be minimized. The point is that ultimately, if you consider this way, there's the guru and there's the disciple. Now, definitely the guru is meant to give instruction to the disciple. But at the same time, the point of the instruction is not just that the disciple becomes more and more dependent on the guru. The point is that the guru is actually connected with Krishna. And the guru's guidance should help the disciple also to connect with Krishna. So when that happens, then there is, Srila Prabhupada writes in, I think somebody has got their volume on. Can you turn it off, please? Who has got it on? Oh, okay, fine. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Thank you. Sorry. So now, when there is reflection, so you could say there are two extremes over here. If in a relationship between teacher student or guru disciple, now guru can be shiksha guru, diksha guru, whatever, but one is there's only guidance and there is no personal reflection. Other is there is only reflection but there is no guidance. If there is only guidance and no reflection, then that will lead to an unhealthy dependence. We will talk in later session about what depending on Krishna actually means and what it does not mean. Unhealthy dependence means without that person we can't do anything. And that is not, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita itself, how Krishna instructs Arjuna. that if Krishna's purpose, if you see Krishna's purpose in the Gita, what was his purpose? His purpose could be at various levels. At one level, his purpose was just to tell Arjuna to fight. It could be to tell him to act according to his nature. It could be to equip him for decision making. If Krishna's purpose had been only to get Arjuna to fight, then Krishna could have completed the whole Gita. As I said in just 6 words, I am God, obey me. Fight. Bhagavad Gita, over. So 6 words. Now Krishna does not do that. So while that is his purpose, so his purpose is not just to give Arjuna a decision, nor is it also to tell, okay, this is the decision and this is how I made this decision. That is helping him in decision making. But not just that particular decision. It is rather he guides him to make decisions in various situations in life. The Gita's message is not about reasons for fighting. Krishna's person in the Gita, you could say it is not to give Arjuna reasons for fighting. It is to give principles for living. And one aspect of living is making decisions. So Krishna is serving this purpose in the Bhagavad Gita. He's giving Arjuna principles for living. And when we are seeking guidance, so there is, for example, we may go and when we have to decide what is favorable or unfavorable, we may ask our spiritual master, we may ask our spiritual guides, okay, should I take this job or not take this job? Should I enter into this relationship or not enter the relationship? Should I go in, should I stay in this city or that city? And yes, major decisions, it is good to take guidance. But the principle is that the more we take guidance, it is not that we become more and more dependent on the guidance. Rather, in the process of seeking guidance, we learn. Okay, this is what is happening. This is these factors. These are those factors. Now, what should we do? So, I was in Houston just now. I was talking with a disciple of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And he told me that Tamal Krishna Maharaj, the way he interacted with Srila Prabhupada, he often would interact with the disciples in that way. That means whenever Maharaj, initially he would just ask Srila Prabhupada, what should I do? But as he became older, more experienced, Prabhupada would ask him, what should I do? If he would ask Prabhupada, Prabhupada would say, what do you think? No, Prabhupada, whatever you tell me, I'll do. Oh, okay, then so what Prabhupada told him, I am telling you to tell me, what do you think? And then what would happen is, you say, Prabhupada, if this will happen, for example, should we buy this new land or not? Should we start a temple over there or not? So then he would give this option, and then Prabhupada would tell, okay, here, this is better. You haven't even thought about this. This you have thought properly. So the idea is, rather than simply seeking instruction, we give our understanding of the situation. And then if the understanding is right, our guide will tell us accordingly. If our understanding is somewhere deficient, they'll tell us accordingly. So the point is not just to make the right decision. The point is to learn the process of decision making. And decision making means, okay, what is favorable, what is unfavorable? So if I have children now, should I put them in this school or that school? Put them in a school run by devotees But if there's no school run by devotees, then should I homeschool them? Should I send them to normal school and then have them come to Sunday school in the temple? Or can I take a lead and start a devotee school in our community? Well, there are all these decisions to be made. And these decisions, they affect us substantially in life. So these decisions, how do we make them? We take guidance. But along with the guidance, we have to do our own reflection. And it is by that reflection that our capacity to think properly, think in a way that is harmonious with our life's purpose, that is harmonious with our devotion, it increases. So we will see this, that so normally the idea is, as I said, it's like a very hierarchical thing. This is the authority, this is the subordinate. But this is not the only way that the guru-disciple interact. We'll see in the Bhagavatam itself, there is an example of Narad Muni and Dhruva. What happens here is, here the mode is more of instruction. And in this particular interaction, the mode is more of negotiation. What do you mean by negotiation over here? That Narad Muni tells Dhruva Maharaj that Narad Muni actually is very shrewd over there. He talks about multiple levels. He says, you are a child or you are a saint. He says, if you are a child, then childish spats, childish quarrels, they are trivial. Sometimes two kids fight with each other and they say, I will never talk with you again. They say in Hindi, Katti. I will never talk with you again. And then 2-3 days later, they're playing with each other and he says, what happened? He is my best friend forever, BFF. The small children don't take their quarrels very seriously. So if you're a child, then it's a childish spat. But on the other hand, if you think you're a wise person, you are a saint, then what happens is, saints, saintly people, they don't take honor, dishonor seriously. They just stay steady. So they consider again that to be just temporary, to be just in that sense insignificant. So he says, either you are there at the level of a saint or at the level of a child. Both ways, just go back to your home. Now, what does Dhruva say? He says, your words are true, they don't apply to me. What he says is, actually, I'm in between. Whereas he says, Kshatriya blood runs through me. And because of the Kshatriya blood running through me, I just cannot tolerate dishonor. Mana bhangam amrishyatam. That he says, I can't tolerate dishonor. And therefore, he says, you give me some way to deal with this dishonor. So the solution other than tolerance, he says. Tolerance is not something which will work for me. He doesn't disrespect or reject Narad Muni, but he says candidly, this doesn't work for me. And Narad Muni doesn't take offense over there. You are just a 5-year-old boy. Don't you know who I am? I am the son of Brahma. I am the instructor of so many great saints and sages. You think you know better than me? Okay, you are being authentic. You can't do this, and this is what you can do. So, this is again, Dhruva Maharaj is reflecting. I can't do this. So, guidance and reflection are important. Now, after that, what is the acronym we were discussing? Remember? Right. So, why are we discussing this acronym? What is the point we're discussing? Yes. How to determine what is favorable? what is unfavorable. For Dhruva Maharaj, his Guru in fact told him, go back home, that's favorable to you. He said, no, that's not favorable for me. You tell me something that is actually favorable for me, something that is doable for me. And that's why the third in GRAD, A that I'm discussing is applicable, application. That means, is this applicable for me? Is this doable for me? Each one of us, even when we get an instruction, we get some guidance, we do some reflection. But after that, we may think, yeah, it's possible for me to do it. But then afterwards we find out, hey, maybe this is too difficult. Sometimes somebody decides, they hear some class on the importance of japa, and they say that from tomorrow onwards, I want to chant 64 rounds every day. This is Kali Yuga. The Yuga Dharma is chanting of the holy names. Prabhupada said 99% of the advancement happens by chanting. Now, Prabhupada, often when he would speak, when he was glorifying one limb of bhakti, he would glorify that limb of bhakti a lot. But Prabhupada, if you want to please me, distribute my books. Nothing is more important than our gurukuls. There are young children are going to be educated. Prabhupada, so many things like that. It's not to minimize, it's to contextualize. You say, I want to chant 64 rounds every day. And one day you chant, 2 days you chant, 3 days you chant. After 5 days or 1 week, 64,000 starts sound like 64,000 rounds. I just feel like over a period of time, I have known the devotees who try to chant 64 rounds, they start ending up disliking the holy name. Yeah, this is taking so much of my time. Now, if that is happening, if that is happening, then we have to be honest with ourselves. Right? It's not that the holy name is bad. It doesn't mean that we are bad. It just means that that is not what is applicable for us. So at one level, it is for each one of us to evaluate what, by reflection, we may decide, yeah, this is what I can do. But when we try to apply, then we may find that, hey, this is just too much for me. So when we decide what is favorable, what is unfavorable for us. So for example, we may want to decide that, okay, I have to work, but no, should I work at a job which takes 8 hours? Should I take a job, work at a job that takes 12 hours? Should I work at a job which just takes 4 hours? Now, accordingly, you could say I'm going to take a 4-hour job, then the money that I'm going to get is lesser. Maybe my growth in career is going to be lesser. My social position may not be that high. I may say, is that favorable to my devotion? I'll have more time to practice bhakti. Okay, that may be true. But is that something I can sustain for a long time? So one of the key utsaha nishcha dhairyat. See, when Krishna, it's significant that in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, when the elements that are favorable and the elements that are unfavorable that are talked about. So when talking about the activities that are favorable, there are practically very few activities that are mentioned. What are the 6 activities that are unfavorable to bhakti? So if we consider, yes, atyahar. Atyahar is what? Yeah, overeating. So it's a very specific activity. Now you can elaborate on that further and say that, okay, it can mean overconsumption. Nowadays you can say overeating content on social media. You could call that also atyahar. It's again very specific. Then after that is prayasa. Prayasa means over endeavoring. So we can ourselves sometimes assess, okay, this is taking too much of my time. I want to do this, but it is affecting all other areas of my life. So I want to take up a job and I want to earn this much money so that I'll be free afterwards. But earning that much money now, my health is getting spoiled. I'm not able to focus on anything at all. That's not what the prayas. Then Prajalpa. Prajalpa is what? Yes, gossip. Do you know what is gossip exactly? When does gossip happen? Okay, when we take interest in it, but okay, that's true. See, when we are most likely to gossip, right? Yeah, when we hear something we like about someone we don't like. We don't like that person, and then if we hear something good about that person, we won't like that. But if you don't like somebody, and then we find you hear something, oh, this person did like that. Oh, we did like that. Yeah. In public interest, I'm going to tell everyone now. So when we hear something we like about, then remember, about someone we don't like. So that's when gossip begins. And this also applies to Vaishnava Aparadha. Sometimes we may just become too paranoid when you start thinking about offending devotees. I was at one place, and there's one devotee who would regularly come for programs over there and sit right in the front and attend classes. And this time he didn't come for a single program. So I messaged him. He would ask me questions online also. So I messaged him. He says, is anything wrong? Are you planning to come for any programs? He said, I can't come for any programs. Okay. He said, okay, can you come and meet me? I said, yeah, I'll meet you privately. Oh, okay. Then he came to meet me and he said that a month ago, some other devotee had come there and had given a very scary class on Vaishnava Aparadha. How dangerous it is to offend devotees. And he said that after hearing how dangerous offending devotees is, I said, I'm never going to offend devotees. And the best way I can ensure that I offend. What did you get? Yeah, the best way to avoid offending devotees is to never associate with devotees. Now, it's like saying, suppose somebody gives a seminar on food poisoning. And then, my God, this can cause this problem, this can cause that problem, this can cause that. I decided I'll not eat food only. That's not going to work. And that's not how it's meant to work. So sometimes we may take one aspect of bhakti and we may just overemphasize it. So Vaishnava Aparadha is a danger. The point is not that Krishna or devotees are waiting to catch us, do something wrong and then punish us for that. It's not like that. It is just that we should be respecting those who are helping us move toward Krishna. So even in devotee association, the really serious offenses, there are casual offenses. That means that sometimes we had two engagements and we can only go on one place and two devotees invite us. We have to say no one devotee. And that devotee may be displeased. But that's not like a very serious offense. That's just human limitation. But especially when we hear something bad about some devotee, and then maybe we don't even verify it. We just, this devotee, everybody thinks it's a great devotee, but now I know what is the truth. We don't even know whether it is the truth or not, but then we start broadcasting it to everyone. That is a very serious offense. So that is prajalpa. Now, if you look at it this way, then what is it afterwards? Niyamagraha. Now, Niyamagraha has two distinct meanings. What are the meanings? Yes. So, let me put it in this another way. Niyamagraha. Let's put it as there are two ways in which Niyamagraha can go to extreme. We stick to the letter while forgetting the spirit. So what is this? Can you, from Krishna Lila, 10th canto, can you think of an example of Niyamagraha like this? You stick to the letter but forget the spirit. Yeah, the Yagik Brahmanas. They were very careful about performing the yajna, making sure that everything is done properly, the food is offered properly. But in the process, what happened? They forgot that this is meant for Supreme Lord Yajneshwar, and that is Krishna. You get so caught in the letter of the law that you forget the spirit. So that is unhealthy. And the other is we just reject the law. Reject the reject the law. And it don't just reject the law, we reject the law in one sense. We just, it's not required. Niyam agraha. Agraha is insisting on it. We just reject it. Krishna talks about this in Yah Shastra Vidimutsrujya Vartate Kamakarataha. One who, out of sensual desire, just give up the following of it. I don't care for it. It's not practical. Or it's not for me. In today's world, for example, across human society, there has always been some guidance about right or wrong. But in today's world, people say, who are you to determine what is right and wrong? I'll do whatever I want. Well, generally, when I say I'll do whatever I want, quite often I will end up doing not what I want, but what my mind wants. And my mind often wants to harm me. That is niyamagraha. So the balance is that we understand the spirit. And follow the letter accordingly. That means, is the spirit being served? For example, it is said we should fast on Ekadashi. And we have this Pandav Nirjal Ekadashi. And somebody says, I'm going to fast Nirjal. Okay, that's, if somebody can fast without water, that's great. But one time I was there at one place, one devotee, he said that, I'm going to fast Nirjal. I told him, that's good. Do you think you can do it? Yes, I found a way to do it. Sleep throughout the day. So the point is not to fast. The point is to remember Krishna, isn't it? The point of the fast is to hold fast onto Krishna. But in order to fast, if we hold fast to sleep, then the purpose of the fast is being defeated. So, okay, if you can't fast without water, that's fine. Many of us, depending on our body types, because our upbringing, maybe find it difficult. Simple is that, okay, how can I maximize my remembrance of Krishna? So, if fasting at a particular level, okay, I take some water, maybe I take one meal, maybe I take 2 meals, but I avoid opulent food, whatever it is, so that we can focus on Krishna. So understand the spirit and follow the letter accordingly. So I went to this Niyamagraha for one reason. We'll come back to Niyamagraha a little later. But here, to understand this, what are the last two? Janasanga. Janasanga is again, what is that Janasanga? Yes, so we could say materialistic association or worldly association. Now, this association can simply infect us with worldly desires. And it can completely overwhelm us. Janasangascha. And Laulya, what is the last part? Laulya. Now it's interesting what this is talking about. Laulya, this is greed. So greed means just craving for more and more and more. So Janasanga, how does it affect us? We will look at, because this particular element will be talked about later also. But when we are trying to understand this, accepting the favorable, avoiding the unfavorable. But my plan is that I'll take this session and then the next part also will continue this understanding of accepting unfavorable, favorable. But here you can see that each of these is in one sense very clearly an activity. Now Niyamagraha, we could say it's a principle. Okay, don't stick literally to the letter of the law. Janasanga is a very clear activity. Laulya, okay, that's greed. That's a vice. But there are several of these which are very specific activities, and the others are, you could say, more of mentalities. At one level, we can say behind every activity is a mentality. But there is a particular, in some things, there is a focus on particular things. There's a greater focus on activities when talking about 6 things unfavorable. And then when we talk about 6 things favorable, what are the 6 things that are favorable? Utsaha, Nishchaya, Dhairyat. Utsaha is enthusiasm. So we be eager to serve Krishna. Utsaha. Then Nishchayat. Nishchaya is determination. Yeah. So enthusiasm, determination. Then Dhairya. Dhairya is patience. So here Prabhupada uses the word patience more in terms of being ready to wait for results to come. Then Tat Karma Pravartanat. That means, what does it mean? Utsaha Nishchaya Dhaya Tat Karma Pravartanat. Gat Sato Vritte. Yes. Tat Karma Pravartanat means, this basically means favorable actions. Now this is interesting that here the principle is being given. It is, you cannot list, nobody can provide an exhaustive list of all the activities that are favorable. Tat Karma Pravartanat. Then Sangatyagat. This is giving up unhealthy association. So the same principle is talked twice over here. There's the only principle that is literally repeated. Unhealthy association, give up. And then Sato Vrittehe. Sato Vritte is what? Yes, it's follow footsteps. That is Kahapantaha, Nahusha, not Nahusha. And actually, the Mahabharata passage comes twice. Nahusha asked Yudhishthir, and again Yaksha asked Yudhishthir. The question is Kahapantaha. What path is to be followed? And what is the answer? Mahajano yena kataha sapantha. Follow the path of the great souls. Follow great souls. So now these broad 6 principles are given. Six about what is favorable, what is unfavorable. Now when we are trying to apply this in our life to determine what is favorable and what is unfavorable, it is important for us to recognize that it is we who have to apply. It is we who have to live spiritually. Nobody else can live our spiritual life for us. That's why I was talking about GRAD. A was what? You remember? Application. So when we try to apply something, how best can we apply it? Most of you know about these 3 zones. So there is the comfort zone. What is the next one? Stretch zone. And then there is the panic zone. So in general, these 3 zones can be associated with the 3 modes. If we consider, whenever we have to do something, we can, so if any endeavor is there, we can overestimate our capacity. It's like some guest comes to our house and they come by a cab. He says, can you help me in carrying my luggage? Yeah, sure. And then we go out and we say, hey, it's a giant bag. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I need some help now. We may overestimate. I can take this bag. And we pick up the bag. And then after a few minutes, somebody has to come and pick us up. So sometimes we overestimate our capacity. So generally, Overestimation is a characteristic of Rajas. We think that we can do more than what we can actually do. Now the other extreme will be what? Underestimate. We think I can't do this at all. Oh, it is like some people say, I did a lot of workout yesterday. Really, what did you do? He says, I walked from my sofa to my fridge dozen times yesterday. That was so people just are extremely lethargic. So this is a characteristic of tamas. In the mode of ignorance, we just think, oh, can you lift this bag? No, I can't. Now sometimes it may happen that a bag is huge. I can't lift it. But then there's nobody else. Okay, let me try it out. I try to pick it up. It's mostly empty. Oh. So initially when I saw the size of the bag, I thought I can't do it. But then when I tried to lift it, it is possible. So what is happening over here is sometimes it is by experience that we learn. Sometimes we evaluate, but then afterwards we have to experience. So in Sattva Guna, there is what there is? We estimate accurately. We learn to estimate accurately. This is broadly a characteristic of Sattva. So now, based on this understanding, where will these three zones fall? Where will the comfort zone in which mode? Comfort zone with tamas. Yeah, people just don't want to sometimes get out of their comfort at all. Just do nothing, especially if somebody is wealthy and somebody has some, maybe it's welfare state where people are supporting people, the government is supporting people, and people don't even get out of their bed. Maybe they get out only to get some drugs or get some drinks or something like that. That is tamas. So for all of us, when we start practicing bhakti, now what we can do, we don't push ourselves at all. Yeah, we just, okay, this is what I'm comfortable doing, that's all I do. Then we won't grow much spiritually. It is when we are in the comfort zone, and there's Bahu Janma Yadi Kare Shravana Kirtan. We just keep hearing and chanting. But actually, we are not really expressing our love for Krishna. This love generally means that we do the best that we can for the object of love. Like somebody we love very much, and it's their birthday, and we organize a party for them, and we want to cook some food. Okay, birthday, but what have you cooked? Oh, we just cooked some rice for you. Okay, what else? Oh, we have some salt with it. Well, did somebody force you to do this birthday party? Whenever there is love, there is affection, we want to do something good for that person. So if we are very much in our comfort zone, it is we are not really endeavoring much at all, then that's not much of an expression of love. Then panic zone will be what? Rajas. Now here we take up far more than what is our capacity. And often we may do this in bhakti also, but we do this not so much for Krishna as for the world. Not so much to go closer to Krishna as we want to. Bhagwan ki jai. We want the world to think, oh, that is such a great devotee. So we are concerned more with fame than with prem. We are concerned more with being famous as a great devotee rather than actually being a good devotee. That's why, especially in bhakti, the search for greatness can be the enemy of goodness. When we try to become a great devotee, that can stop us from being a good devotee. So now, should we try to be a great devotee? Yeah, we want to do great things for Krishna. But if that becomes our obsession, then we often take up more things that we can do, and then we just collapse. Sometimes when we practice bhakti sustainably, then it is yadgatvan and nivartante. We go to the spiritual world, we don't come back. But sometimes people practice bhakti too much, and they go back never to come. But they go back to the material world, not to Krishna. So is in the stretch zone is in wherein it's roughly in sattva. Yeah, this is my capacity, and I can do a little more than my capacity. So that I'll improve. Just like if somebody is doing some exercises, they say that progressive overload. And you take a little more than what your capacity is, then the muscles improve. So this is what is favorable for us. That a little more than our capacity. The stretch zone is what is favorable, and that's what we try to accept. So here, I was talking about this in terms of the acronym GRA, grad. So A is application. Application means that we try to do something, and we try to do something, we experiment. Okay, is this working? Is this not working? If this is not working, then it's not that out of ego, I decided to do it, so I'm going to do it. No, if it's not working, then adjust some things. If we decide that I'm going to fast and okay, I'm sitting and chanting. My tongue is saying Hare Krishna. My mind is saying Prasad, 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 Krishna, 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 Prasad, 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 Prasad. Now that is happening, then better take some Prasad and then come back and chant. Isn't it? The point is to focus on Krishna. So this is we when we apply, so and then our experience equips our intelligence. And through this combination of these two things, through this combination, we learn our capacity. Sometimes there is something which we think, I can't do this. But then say, I can't fast nature. But when you say it's Janmashtami, come in the association of devotees, everybody is doing seva, everybody is hearing, singing, and everybody is fasting, and we just, the whole day passes off. Say, hey, I never thought I could fast, but I was able to fast. So then in that case, what has happened is our experience has reshaped our understanding of our capacity. I thought I couldn't do without this, but I was able to do. So intelligence and experience are reflection and application. Both of these, they help us to move forward in understanding what we can do and what we can't do. So this is, Srila Prabhupada says that in the introduction to the Nectar of Instruction, Deshamuth, he says towards one of the last sentences, he says, once one comes to the mode of goodness, how to advance further is revealed from within. That means that as by a practice of bhakti, we come to the sattva guna, we can estimate our capacity better. We can better decide, okay, this is favorable for me, this is not favorable for me. And then we can make a better decision about how to move ahead in our life. Okay, so now the last D, we'll talk about it quickly and then we'll it's so it's not sharing a stop, the internet is gone. Okay. I'm sorry about this. Okay. The last D is destination. When we talk about destination, what it means is, where do we want to go? What is our purpose? If purpose is important for us, then we are often ready to pay a price for it. Sometimes somebody say, it's not my capacity. Say somebody says, I just can't give up eating meat. They say, I can't give it, but then they get a heart attack. And doctor tells them that if you don't, if you get another heart attack, it could be fatal. You want to avoid heart attacks, stop eating meat. They just, okay, this is, life is more important than eating meat for me. I want to play with my life. They just give it up. So in general, if the destination is highly desirable for us, then that in one sense increases our capacity. So when I say what is favorable, what is unfavorable, it is based on not just how it feels to me right now. It also means in general that we are evaluating most of our life between how something matters to, how something feels to us now and how something matters to us in the future. There is both are important, that something may be very good for me in the future, but right now it's painful. But right now, how much pain can I bear? Maybe I can bear a little pain. I can bear a lot of pain. It varies from person to person. But the point over here is, to the extent that the future is important for me. So, to that extent, we can tolerate the present pain. So, in one sense, we could say, if we focus only on the present pain, we'll just give up. Hey, this is too painful. I can't do it. On the other hand, if we focus only on the future reward, I'm doing this because in the future this is good for me. But if I don't care about my present pain at all, then the result could be that we ruin ourselves. Because ultimately, if in seeking a bright future, I ruin my present, I harm myself so much that I am not there for the future, then what is the use? Somebody may say that, I'll exercise so much that I have very attractive physique. Okay, you may have attractive physique, but in the process, if the body is causing too much pain, then it indicates that now maybe this, you cannot go too much beyond this. We say we have to go to the stretch zone. Like yoga involves stretching. But one of the key principles in yoga is stretch in a way that is comfortable, not in a way that is painful. The body is indicating if it's too painful, then stop. So if somebody stretches themselves so much that it causes great pain, that may indicate that there's such an injury to the body that then they can't function afterwards. So our present pain is also not something which is to be completely neglected. Srila Prabhupada wrote in a letter to one of his disciples that if you neglect your health now in the name of serving Krishna, in the future, even if you are very enthusiastic to serve Krishna, you may not be able to serve. So we need to take care of our present also. So this is the balance. Tolerable present pain for attractive or desirable future reward. So how much pain can I tolerate now so that I can have future reward? Yeah, waking up in the morning is difficult. But if I wake up in the morning, I do my sadhana, my mind becomes calmer, it becomes clearer. And then I can do so much more. I get a head start during my day. As I become purified, my life will be much better in future. But if say every day I'm sleeping at 12 o'clock and then I try to wake up at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, what is going to happen? If we don't sleep at the right time, we will sleep at the wrong time. We'll sleep during japa, we'll sleep during class. Most dangerous, we might sleep while driving. That is hazardous. So we have to find that balance between present pain and future reward. And this balance is something which each individual has to find for themselves. And depending on how desirable the future reward is, to that extent, the present pain can become more bearable. If the future reward is, okay, yeah, if I don't go to Krishna in this lifetime, next life I'll continue on. It's not that desirable, then we might go slowly. That's why here, this is where for us, the destination, when we hear from scriptures, we hear about how wonderful Krishna is, how wonderful the spiritual world is. Then we can pursue what is favorable, we can choose what is favorable and choose what is unfavorable in a more realistic way for us. So what we will be doing now is that I'll be quickly ending the session, but during the lunch break and over the lunch break, we will be having a division into groups. And then we'll be, I talk about these 4 broad factors. And now it's not that you have, we will, each of you can decide one situation where you have to make a decision of what is favorable, what is unfavorable. And how would you decide that? I'll give you some situations. Can someone count how many devotees we have? Or maybe, sorry, 47 inside the building. How many participate in the group activity? Because different devotees have different services. Or how many will be there? 45. Okay. So we'll make 4 groups, 10 of 2 of Prabhus and 2 of Matajis. And then, so you will have some time to reflect, and then you have to make a presentation. One of you can make a presentation, all of you can make a presentation, and then we will deliberate on it further. But this principle of accepting favor, like I started by saying that the first 2 of these are actually something which is for us to do as actions. The remaining 4 are moods that need to be cultivated, and they take time to come. But the first 2 are most important for us. So we'll try to develop these to some extent. So let me summarize, and then we will talk about the group activity. So today we discussed broadly about how we are about accepting favorable and about unfavorable. So in one sense, we discuss how they're constantly selecting. Now the selection may be based on what is comfortable for our body, what is comfortable for our budget, what is comfortable for our mind. What is favorable, what is unfavorable, we are always selecting because we are finite beings in a world with far too many choices, far too many options. So we discussed that if we have to decide, how do we decide what is favorable and what is unfavorable? So I discussed the acronym. What is the acronym? GRAD. What was G? Guidance. Now in guidance, we discussed that if we don't seek guidance, we rely only on our mind. And our mind, if it becomes our guide, then it ends up misguiding. One who is a person who is his own guru ends up having a disciple as a fool. But guidance alone is not, it's not the only thing that is important. After that is reflection. That the purpose of seeking guidance is not to become chronically dependent on guidance and to be incapable of decision making without guidance. It is that to help us think better. Krishna guided Arjuna in such a way that not just Arjuna got to the right decision, Arjuna just didn't understand the process for arriving at that decision, but also Krishna understood how to make decisions in general. Arjuna understood how to make decisions. Krishna gave him principles of living. So we discuss if there's no reflection, then generally we may end up attracting the wrong kind of people. It's only guidance. Either people who want to control or people who want to just don't want to think. So this guidance plus reflection, it can make us independently. What did Prabhupada say? Anyone remembers? Independently thoughtful, right? Then after that was application. This is where we also discussed the example of Dhruv Maharaj. He was, and he says, I can't do this. And then there is the comfort zone, stretch zone, and the panic zone, and how these are associated with 3 modes. So by application, we understand which is the stretch zone that we can go into comfortably in a way that is sustainable for us. And the last part was destination. So how desirable is the destination for us? That will determine how much are we ready to sacrifice for that destination. So that is the present future balance. Is that yes, we want to go to the spiritual world, but that doesn't mean that our present life has to be totally miserable, filled with such unbearable atrocities that we are on, not atrocities, austerities, that we feel like we are on the verge of breaking down. We feel that those austerities are becoming like atrocities. No, the present and the future have to be balanced. And for that, each one of us has to be responsible to make those decisions. So any quick questions at this point? Yes, bro, we'll take one. Should we? Okay, yeah. Please go ahead, bro.
So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such an analytical description, which is what I love about your classes so much. Thank you so much. So Prabhuji, am I understanding this correctly that you mentioned over period of time, the dependence on Guru should sort of gradually reduce, and our independent thinking, because he has equipped us with the knowledge, should begin to support us at that point.
Yes.
So then how do...
Yeah, go ahead.
So how do we balance that with, for example, the mood of serving, like it says, Shushrusaya Bhajana Vigyam Ananyamanya. So serving the devotees, or
yes, that is
Tad Anuragi Jananugami. So
you see, we are always serving. Prabhupada talked about 3 kinds of servants. You remember Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. So the Kanishta is one who does not follow instructions at all. They're told to do something, they don't follow. Madhyama is one who follows. It's a different way of looking. This is not the Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama of the Bhakti Samad Sindhu. This is just about with respect to those who are followers. 3 levels of followers. And the third is that follows the mind, or fulfills the, put it this way, the Uttama devotee. So the Kanishta don't follow instruction. The Kanishta Madhyama follows instruction, and the Uttama fulfills the purpose of the instruction. So he says that understands the mind. And what was the reason why this instruction was given? For example, Prabhupada gave the example, or Prabhupada said around 1970s, that 1970-71, he says, my Guru Maharaj asked me to preach in the Western world. I've done that. Now I want to preach in India. Now, what does it mean? Was he neglecting his spiritual master's instruction? Was his desire independent of his spiritual masters? No. Prabhupada traveled across the world. He established Krishna conscious centers all over the world. And even afterwards also, in 1970s also, he was going abroad. But Prabhupada, based on his observation and analysis of the world, he realized that we could have Krishna conscious centers all over the world, but they would need a foundation in India. India was where the most receptive culture was there. Especially Vrindavan, Mayapur, and other places. He felt that this is where people from all over the world would come for inspiration. And that's why he focused his energies over there. He didn't just want to go to the West and give a few classes and come back. He actually understood Bhakti Thakur's mission was to fulfill the prophecy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not just one time and all over the world, all over the Krishna's names are chanted in various towns and villages. No, and thousands of years to come, it should go on. A legacy was to be created. And so Prabhupada felt that I'll focus my energies in India. So that is, he went beyond the literal word of the instruction, which also he followed, but he looked at the intent of the instruction. So that is a very high level. Now, if you could say, even before that, it was not that Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur was following up with Srila Prabhupada, writing every week, when are you planning to go to the West? When are you planning to go to the West? No. He just gave an instruction and Prabhupada took it up. Prabhupada did not need follow-up. So even the second level, Prabhupada took his initiative to come there. But Prabhupada went beyond that to third level. So it's not so much, you could say spiritually, a disciple always feels that I am dependent on my spiritual master. It is by the mercy of my spiritual master that I am able to do this. So once a devotee told Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur preached in Bengal and Orissa. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur preached in India. You preached all over the world. Therefore, you are greater than both of them. And Prabhupada became furious. Prabhupada said, never think like this. He says, it is by their blessings that I have achieved whatever I have. He says, the father and grandfather are always more pleased when the son or grandson achieves something more. So, Prabhupada never considered himself greater than them, but he did fulfill their mission. So the idea is that there is a difference between, you could put it this way, that see, there is spiritual dependence that is not the same as, could say, practical or physical or emotional dependence. That were not the same thing. Practical, Prabhupada was not practically dependent on his Guru Maharaj. It was, in fact, he got nothing from from the Gaudiya Math, his spiritual master's mission. He did not get any followers, he did not get any funds, he did not get any favorable support, any kind at all. No favorable, nothing he got. Prabhupada did not say, oh, I'm dependent on you. If you don't give me anything, what can I do? There was no practical dependence. There was spiritual dependence. It is by his mercy that I'm able to do it. So sometimes when you think of practical dependence, it can mean physical dependence, it can mean emotional dependence. If I don't get to see my spiritual master, then if my spiritual master doesn't talk with me, then I have no energy left. Well, no. There has to. So what we want to avoid is that emotional dependence, that practical dependence. And to focus on the mood of spiritual dependence is always there. Krishna's mercy will come to me primarily because of the blessings of my spiritual master. That mood our disciple always has. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, I will talk later. So what we are going to do now is that all of you are going to become guides. That means all of you have to consider a situation. We'll talk about 4 different situations where a person has to make a decision. And then when they have to make a decision, it's not that you have to give them the decision, you have to guide them what all are the factors to be considered while making a decision. So this, I'll talk about it from what's happening over here. Okay, it's visible. So in Bhakti, there are various levels at which what is favorable and what is unfavorable is to be decided. So, for example, if someone has to decide, okay, should I take a job at a place where there are a lot of devotees, but you got it already, okay, but it's not very lucrative, or it's lucrative but not many devotees. So what is the, not that you have to give a decision, this is very important. You're not giving a decision over there. You're thinking of what are the factors to consider while making such a decision. So we'll have 4 groups. That's first is about job or career. Second is we're talking about decisions that devotees have to make in their lives. So if we have to choose a spiritual master, the spiritual master, on what basis do we choose a spiritual master? Now, I'm only giving some factors. Say one particular factor might be that our spiritual master is very accessible to us. How accessible is the spiritual master? Is very accessible, not very accessible. And we can also say that how inspiring is the spiritual master and the God family created by the spiritual master. So what are the factors that we need to consider when we make a decision? And here we need to help the individual to decide which factor is how important. The third will be about, if this is a common problem, if you are in a community where there is a devotee you just don't like, there's an unlikable devotee. So how do we deal with the devotee? What can we do? What would be favorable? What would be unfavorable? If as soon as we see that devotee, we start feeling angry, we start feeling annoyed, we start feeling unhappy. So how do we deal with that devotee? What would be favorable for us? What would be unfavorable for us? Maybe that devotee has hurt us also in the past. So should we forgive them? How do we forgive them? What do we do in such situations? And the last is where some devotee is feeling that they have got a service overload. That they have got too many services to do. Now, is it actually they have too many services? Is it that they're just feeling that they're having too many services? What can they do about it? So these are 4 situations. Is the task clear for you? So we'll form a team. We'll have Krishna Balaram, and then we will have Radharani, and who's the other one? Okay, we have Lalitha and Vishakha. Okay. So you have to remember your group. Start from there. Krishna Balaram. Krishna Balaram. Krishna Balaram. Krishna Balaram. Balaram. Krishna Balaram. Krishna Balaram. Krishna Balaram. Krishna Balaram. How many? Balaram. Okay. Narottam Prabhu, you'll be there? Okay, fine. So some of you have excuses not to join. Okay, then we have, you will remember, isn't it? So all Krishna group will come together after this. We'll also need to appoint like one coordinator for each group. We'll have to appoint one coordinator for each group. Okay, then we have Lalita, Vishaka. Lalita, Vishaka. Okay. You can be with your parents. Okay. Okay. Lalita, Vishaka. Lalita, Vishaka. Lalita, Vishaka. Lalita, you'll be there for the second part. Lalita. Oh, okay. Vishaka. Lalita, Vishaka. Okay. So I think it's good. We have even numbers everywhere. So we'll have 4 groups. So the first, so Krishna is going to take about the job. How do we help a person who has to decide to take a job? So you want to appoint the leaders for each group?
I think they can decide amongst themselves, maybe.
Can all Krishna come on one side? Those who remember that they will at least know. I mean, I said the class is over, so you can get up. We'll go for prasad also, no? So all Krishna on one side and all Balram is here. That's right? All Balram are here.
Okay, the Balaram group, if you can just stand up and move to that side. It's just going to make it easier.
Oh, this is the Balram group. No?
Okay.
So maybe after lunch, we will have some time. So Krishna group can sit here, maybe Balram group can sit here. Then who are Lalita group?
If the Radhi individuals can move to one side physically, just for a minute,
Yeah,
like
sure.
like they did, just move over for one side. I think a better way maybe to like have devotees meet now and then have prasadam after that. Otherwise, it'll be hard to do the reverse.
Is it? Okay. You decide that. I'm fine.
Okay.
If that's what you feel is the best.
And then the Vishaka group, where are they? Just sitting?
Okay, Lalita has gone there, is it? Lalita is here? Okay, then Vishaka can be there then. So for Krishna group, basically, if somebody wants to decide how to whether to take a job in a particular place, what factors to consider? Somebody wants to choose a guru, on what, that is for the Balram group. On what basis do they decide how to take a guru? And so after you make a discussion, you can come forward and you'll be making a presentation for about between 3 to 5 minutes. So one of you can make it, 2 or 3 of you can also speak for 1 or 2 minutes together. But you give a presentation broadly giving some guidelines, how you would like to guide. So Lalita group, Lalita is, yeah. So if you have to deal with a devotee that you don't like, the devotee has maybe done something which has hurt us. Now it is not, this is not so much, it is in one sense for us to make a decision, but it's also for us to guide others in making decisions. So if somebody has come to you in that situation, then how would you guide that devotee? Should we just tell them just tolerate it? Or when should they stop tolerating? What should they do? How do they decide that? And for you, it is that there are some more devotees over there. You're not just 4 of you, there are more there, I think. So if there is if some devotee feels I've got too many services. So how would we guide them to decide whether, okay, you really have too many services that you need to cut down on, or you can maybe adjust some other things so that you can do the services. So don't, at the situations, don't just give like philosophically lofty answers. If somebody says service overload, service is the greatest blessing in all of existence. Everything else is insignificant. Forget everything else and do service. Not like that. We try to make it in a balanced way. Something which, if the one way to do it is that if we had been in that situation, what instruction would have been doable for us? One of the most frustrating things in a devotee's life is when they have a practical problem and they're given a philosophical solution. So that, no, we have to do what is favorable and we have to avoid what is unfavorable. Okay. So you can have about 15 minutes for this discussion.
Yeah, using the grad principles that you.
Yeah. So GRAD we talked about. You are going to give them guidance, but you're also helping them to make reflection, do some reflection themselves. Are there too many in that group? Okay, no. Will Mata is doing flowers also be able to participate? If they're not going to participate, then maybe we have to shift some people. Will you be able to participate afterwards? Okay, fine.
I think they can take a break.
Yeah, maybe this group can go there. Sorry to trouble you.
Yes. So I think you can kind of self pick a devotee who can represent the recommendations of the
That's
group.
okay. That's okay. Too many have come this side now. Okay.
I think they have enough on this side. And then
Yeah,
that
sure.
side.
Thank you.
It won't be a perfect balance.
Thank you.
So use the grad principles. Does everybody know what topic? Haribol? Haribol, Haribol. Does everybody know what topic they're going to focus on? Right? The career, the guru, who's going to do the unlikable devotee? That one, and you guys are going to do service overload, okay? And then if every group at the beginning can pick a representative, okay?